Okay, let's go. Let's see what else we can learn here. Did you ever stop to think why the doors and walls of this place seem so rugged? That's because they were designed to keep secrets from being leaked. What is that supposed to mean? The doors and walls are super thick. The window panes are double layered. To top it all off, even the curtains are made of a special sound-absorbing material. Then you mean... Since I was shut up inside lobby number 1, there was no way I could have heard that sound. Well then how did the judge hear it? From behind 2 windows, across the courtyard. No! Ugh! I knew that's what he was gonna say. That means that Scruffface's testimony is completely useless. If the rooms are soundproof, then of course he wouldn't have heard any signs of a struggle. That's also why it's only natural that I didn't hear the balloon popping. Now do you get it, kids? Miles, I thought we were supposed to be the ones finding flaws in his logic. Not the other way around. Other way around. It's not possible to hear the sound of a balloon popping if one were in lobby number 1. However, if we examine the situation in reverse, a person standing in the hallway shouldn't be able to hear the real gunshot either. Oh, good point. And neither should Detective Bad. And yet Detective Gumshoe claims to have heard it while he was standing in the hallway. Detective Bad, if that's the case, how exactly did you hear the gunshot? Yep. What do you mean, how? I just did. It would appear that you have yet to realize the contradiction in your own words. Oh? How so? If the rooms are as soundproof as you say they are, then how did the sound of the gunshot enter your ears? I see what you mean. I guess I'm more out of it from Faraday's murder than I'd thought. Which means what exactly, Miles? In the end, what does it all boil down to? It boils down to this. There must be a reason. And I can already... as to how Detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard a gunshot they theoretically shouldn't have. It looks like we need to examine the state of the crime scene again, huh? The window's open. The state of the crime scene. Wait, can it be? It's that ultra-strong perfume you wears. She spilled some of it. Ah! Way too noisy! Lobby 2's television was set to an incredibly high volume. The surveillance video! How can a piece of evidence just disappear? Where did it go? I see. Simply not possible for the killer to have escaped through the barred windows, and yet the fragrance of the perfume managed to escape from dependent lobby number 1. course. Incorporeal things can move freely through these open, barred windows. Yes. Now the pieces don't fit together quite right. What, they don't? I thought they made... About... Now then, what else besides a smell can go both in and out of an open, barred window? Sound, obviously. The answer is sound. So no matter how careful the killer was, if the windows were open, the jig would be up. Since the windows in both defendant lobby number 1 and the hallway were open, that explains how the sound of a gunshot could be heard in both locations. Okay, so I think now it seems like they were both killed beforehand. The killer put the surveillance camera tape in the VCR on that TV and turned it up to high volume and just waited until the gunshot went off, so we would assume that was when it happened. And I guess they must have programmed it to shut off afterwards. The missing piece of evidence is a video that shows the moment in which Mr. Rell killed the embassy staff member. The sound of the gunshot left quite an impression on me when it was played during the trial. The video should have been returned to Mr. Faraday's evidence bag for the recess and brought back here. If it disappeared after that time, then it's possible that the tape is still here in this room. Eureka! The evidence that the missing evidence created for me is the gunshot sound that no one should have been able to hear in the first place. Miles, what have you been thinking about? Stop wasting time thinking. Let's start looking again. It's not a waste of time to think, for I figured out where we should look. And where would that be? I believe we should examine the television. The TV? Well, you kids have fun. Go ahead and examine whatever you like. Oh, we will. It's a video player. There seems to be a videotape inside. Looks like it. The tape must have stopped on its own when it reached the end. This tape. Could it not be the missing surveillance tape? I suppose, but... Detective Bad, would it be alright with you if I verify the contents of this video? Sure, knock yourself out. Alright, then let's rewind this and see what we have. The good old days of VHS. If I remember correctly, the footage of Rell killing the embassy staff member should be about the 30-minute mark from the start of the tape. Understood. This should be about right. Now then, let's see. I see, so this means... this is... So he was killed around 30 minutes before we thought we heard the gunshot. Or, well, both they were killed. This is the footage of Mr. Relch shooting the embassy staff member. I knew it. The missing piece of evidence, the surveillance video, is here all along. The sound. What's the meaning of this? It appears the Detective Bad has figured out the true source of the gunshot he heard. With this, I think we can figure out the trick behind this double murder. Do you mean that you figured it all out then? Yes. All I have to do now is show what the gunshot detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard was... and through where they heard it from. Yeah, fine. In that case, show me what we've deduced. Now to show what the gunshot detectives Bad and Gumshoe heard was... and through where they heard it from. That's pretty obvious. Door and windows to the crime scene, namely this room that we're in, were closed, the killer could have used the gun and no one would have been the wiser. That's true. This courthouse does seem to be well designed for such a thing, as it were. However, what happened in reality was... Detective Gumshoe, Detective Bad, and Ms. Yu, all three of them heard the gunshot. One of the windows in lobby number 1, number 2, and the hallway were open. So naturally, the people in those locations could hear it. But then why would the criminal open the window in the first place? To allow the gunshot to be heard, I suppose. Correct. That's the only logical conclusion we can draw from this. But why was that necessary in the first place? I want a real answer, Miles. I demand satisfaction. Very well. I believe that the killer wanted to manipulate our perception of a certain fact. Let's see. When it happened. The killer wanted to fabricate the time of death of their precise wishes. And they used the gunshot in the surveillance video to do so. So that's why the tape was left running. You mean the gunshot I heard was from this video? Yes, which means the murders really occurred at an earlier time than we thought. It must have been during the recess, but before Detective Gumshoe was on guard duty. Someone who has no alibi for that time period. And planned this crime out in advance. It's gotta be you. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, what is it? Ms. Yu is asking for you. She's in the courtroom. She says that she's identified the murderer, but she wants to clarify something. It looks like Miss Yu is still investigating something. Investigating or covering her tracks? Understood. Please tell her that I'll be right over. I'll come along. I want to hear what she has to say. It would appear that the time has come to uncover the truth. All right. Hopefully we have enough time to finish this. Hey, what are you doing here?
Oh, hello, mister. I'm still investigating.
But the object you're looking for is already... Okay, don't mind him. Please continue with your investigation.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah. I think I see why I cut you off there. Detective Bad, haven't we already found what you were looking for? If it means I can keep her in the dark just a little longer, any task will do. Oh, you're more sympathetic than I thought. I've been waiting for you, Edgeworth. I've also been waiting for the moment in which we can finally lay this case to rest. The moment in which we can finally lay this case to rest? Wasn't that when we placed Detective Gumshoe under arrest? I think we've more than solved this case already. Don't you? We'll see. It all depends on whether or not your logic holds. Oh, I see we even have a viewer in the gallery. And why even Mr. Bad is here. A viewer in the gallery? I'm hardly just a bystander. Standby, really? Bystander? I have a duty to see this case through to the end. No matter how it turns out. Oh, is that right? Anyway, I thought you might like to hear what I've slaved away to find out. I've taken statements on every single person's movements. During the time when our suspect was in the hallway, I also confirmed there is no possible route of escape from lobby number 2. Therefore, the killer must without a doubt be Detective Gumshoe. And that's all you have? Yeah, that's all there is to my conclusion, and this case. Sorry, but I beg to differ. In a trial, there is always a time for a rebuttal, and we are standing in a court of law. It'd be more than appropriate to follow the rules of court in this case, don't you think? How absolutely like a rookie to think such a thing. But alright, I'll play along and give you a proper testimony. If my logic is correct, then I've already won. All I have to do now is to prove it, by showing who the real killer is. Everyone stands the suspect as an alibi for when the gun went off. Furthermore, the areas around the crime scene have all been thoroughly investigated, right? I also confirmed there is no possible escape route from lobby number 2. Which leaves us with one unshakable conclusion, that Detective Gumshoe is the killer. Now that you have your testimony, I expect a good rebuttal, Edgeworth. But of course, there's no need to confront her logic head-on right now. I should instead focus on drawing out any trump card she has up her sleeve.
Hold it!
Suspect. But I thought that Detective Gumshoe's alibi has already been proven. Are you joking, Edgeworth? I assure you this is no joke. Look, I know you heard from the judge earlier that the detective was in the hallway with Mr. Faraday's daughter eating a Swiss roll. Yes, that is correct. But see, that was 20 minutes before the real gunshot went off, right? And the problem is, there's no one else who can corroborate what he did since the snagging. I see she's done her research well. Which means that I should focus on drawing out whatever trump card she's withholding. Furthermore, the areas around the crime scene have all been thoroughly investigated, right?
Hold it!
Whether they've been thoroughly investigated or not is for me to decide. The scrunched eyebrows and lines on the forehead are back. Anyway, even if you believe it hasn't been exhaustive, the crime scene, lobby number 2, has no way out other than the hallway Detective Gumshoe is standing in. And because he claimed to be there, that makes him the only possible suspect. But isn't it also possible that someone escaped through the window and into the garden? That's the first place everyone looked, silly. The police aren't a bunch of lazy bums. They looked into every possibility, you know. Isn't that right, Mr. Bad? Yeah. There wasn't a scrap of evidence to suggest someone used one of the windows. There also weren't any footprints or anything in the courtyard garden. I suppose they really did check everything that could be relevant to the case.
Hold it!
Are you absolutely positive that there are no possible routes of escape? Of course I'm sure. And why are you so certain? This is a courthouse, the place where criminals are brought to be judged. If there were an escape route, I'm sure every criminal would be using it to escape. It's just common sense. Miles Edgeworth, I suggest you use a bit more of it in the future. Yep.
Hold it!
You may think it's unshakable, but to me there are still too many unanswered questions. For example, who was it that placed the gun in Mr. Faraday's hand? But you're the only one still wondering that. Detective Gumshoe probably had no idea which hand Mr. Faraday used to write with. Even if you know someone, it doesn't mean you'll know which hand they write with, right? I mean, I certainly don't care about that sort of thing. I'm not about to let her get a rise out of me with such a flippant statement. What kind of a rise? Suppose we've really reached the end now. I already have my trump card ready. All that remains is to play it. But before I do, I think I should inquire into a little something about her argument. You said earlier that you confirmed the alibis of every person other than the suspect. However, I don't recall either Francisca or myself speaking with you about that subject. Ah, but there were witnesses. For you, there's your mentor who gave you an alibi. I see. As for the little missy, she came into the courthouse during the recess and was stopped by a security guard at the door to the hallway. She gave him quite a whipping for that, or so I heard. I'm the daughter of Manfred von Karma, and I will not be forcibly stopped by a guard or a bailiff or anyone else. Wait, so basically the only reason Francisca bothered to show up today was because she found out I was to be the replacement prosecutor. By the way, Miss Yu, what about everyone's alibis before Detective Gumshoe was assigned to guard duty? What about them? Have you looked into what people were doing during that span of time? What kind of idiot do you take me for? It doesn't matter when the killer went into lobby number 2. From the time we heard the gunshot, to the time Mr. Bad and I arrived on the scene as we dashed from lobby number 1, the only other person who could have committed the crime was Detective Gumshoe. Yes, let's talk about when you and Detective Bad heard that gunshot, shall we? I suppose that if we go by your logic, then Detective Gumshoe is the only one. However, what if the crime had occurred at an entirely different time than when that gunshot you heard went off? What then? That gunshot was a trap meant to manipulate... Oh. Sadly, your explanation is very lacking, Edgeworth. The gunshot we heard in lobby number 1. Care to explain how that could have been fabricated? Yep.
Take that!
That tape. Yes, it's exactly what you think it is. This is the surveillance tape of Mr. Rell the prosecution presented in today's trial. This was found loaded in the video player in lobby number 2. It was connected to the large television that had its volume turned all the way up. You can't honestly mean that the sound we heard was the gunshot in the video. Ah, but I do. Which leads me to my next point. The murders occurred much earlier than when anyone heard the gunshot. That's the only thing I can think of, too. After committing double homicide, the killer took the surveillance video out from Mr. Faraday's evidence bag, turned the television's volume all the way up, and left the video to play. If played from the beginning, it would take 30 minutes for the gunshot sound to come on. And since we now know that this method of time manipulation is possible, it opens up the possibility that the killer is someone other than Detective Gumshoe.
Objection!
Sounds from a television doesn't amount to much here. But of course, Mr. Prosecutor, Edgeworth, and Little Miss Von Karma already knew that much from the very beginning, right? Of course we knew, didn't we, Miles? Yes, of course. We know about the soundproof quality of this courthouse's rooms. Of course, I'm not about to admit we had no idea until only a little while ago. That's right, and if the rooms are soundproof, then we should not have been able to hear it. And yet we heard the gunshot clear as day. And that's it. End of story. But it's not. How should I explain why she was able to hear a gunshot from a soundproof room? The window is open. There is actually one common point between lobby number 1 and lobby number 2. And it is that despite the fact that both rooms have air conditioners installed, a window is open in each. Easy with the makeup there. Now we know that the window in lobby number 2 is opened by the killer. However, a window in lobby number 1 was also opened.
Objection!
It's probably just coincidence they were both open at the time.
Objection!
It was no mere coincidence, I assure you. Why was the window open in lobby number 1? Bad opened it because of the perfume. The answer is that a certain person did something to cause the window to be opened. She spilled her perfume on purpose so he would open the window, didn't she? The person who triggered that action, that person is the real guilty party. The real killer in this double murder is...
Take that!
Miss Callisto Yu. I hereby formally indict you of the murder of Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell. What? You indict me? Smudge your lipstick there. Are you serious, Miles? Why do you think she's the killer? I don't understand her motive just yet. But of course, I'm serious. Because she's the only one who could have done it. Well, Miss Yu, you still feel like laughing now? Of course I do, Edgeworth. My argument must not be tight enough yet. Although I never thought things would spiral into this. But I'll have you know, I'm enjoying this dance quite a bit. I guess this means it's time for my own rebuttal now, right? You argue that the window is open, however, do you have proof that it was I who did it? Furthermore, do you have proof that the tape was used in committing the crime? Frankly, I'm shocked at you for going around accusing people of murder like this. especially with logic as full of holes as yours. This is where it really starts. I mustn't let my guard down for even a second, or the truth will blow away. Now's the time to put the patented Von Karma perfect proof to the test. It was I who did it.
Hold it!
Evidence. All I need to do is have some prints analyzed and we know right away. Be my guest. She sounds as though she has the room to maneuver. Which means, even if we were able to look prints, they'd only show it was someone else, but why that someone else was forced to open the window? That's simple logic. Why don't I try presenting that piece of evidence? I have nothing to lose. What's wrong? The scrunched eyebrows, lines on your forehead, they're all back. More importantly, are you going to be okay not running a fingerprint analysis? Yes, I'll be fine. Oh? Well, in that case, I'll just continue with my testimony, alright?
Objection!
I'm sure you've seen this before, haven't you, Miss Yu? Edgeworth, I never knew you were wearing into that kind of perfume. It's not exactly what I'd recommend for boys, you know. This isn't mine! That's right, it's mine, and I received it from Detective Bad, you see. Miss Yu, you can pretend all you like, but we know at least this much for sure. That this bottle of perfume was given to Detective Bad by you. Because it gets really strong really fast. So, what about the perfume? While you were in lobby number 1, you made a big show of spilling some of this perfume. That's according to Detective Bad. Oh, I know. You also knew that if you spilled it, he would naturally move to open a window.
Objection!
Come now, I've already told you that's all just a big coincidence. After we opened the window in lobby number 1, I just left it open, you know? So maybe it was just dumb luck that we heard the gunshot through the window.
Objection!
The timing of when you were going to spill the perfume is something you could control. And the most important fact about this case is when people are made to hear the shot. Furthermore, it would have been pointless if you didn't have an alibi for yourself at the time. You mean... Miss Yu, you were the one who called Detective Bad into lobby number 1. Yeah, to establish an alibi for herself. When you saw him bring Detective Gumshoe into the hallway. Is that correct? All of today's premeditative events could only have been thought up by you, Miss Yu. Ugh. You accuse me of murder on the fact that I spilled a little perfume. Well, allow me to say this much. I couldn't have killed Mr. Faraday. Would you care to testify as to why? Look, I've had a lot of fun today, really. But I grow weary of this game of cat and mouse. Let's make the last testimony and wrap up this absurd case once and for all. Sounds good to me. Accusing someone of murder over a spilled bottle of perfume is a bit over the top. But I suppose forgery of evidence is to be expected of a disciple of Von Karma. In any case, it simply could not have been me who killed Mr. Faraday. After all, I don't even know where the knife that was used to kill him came from. Miles, her testimony is flawless. Yes, but no matter what sort of trick she may try to pull, she won't escape me. If I'm lacking information, I'll just draw it out of her. I think I know what to press, too.
Hold it!
At this rate, she'll inevitably escape. But if she really was the one who killed Mr. Faraday, then she must have known about the existence of the knife. I'm sorry, Miss Yu, maybe you weren't aware. However, the knife that was used to kill Mr. Faraday was taken from his evidence bag. Miles, what do you think you're doing? I'm drawing the truth out of her, that's what I'm doing. But I don't recall a knife being presented at the trial earlier today. Well, I suppose that's because the evidence was something Mr. Faraday had yet to use. Aha, so that's what you're trying to do. Look, why don't you cut it out with the lies? I've already figured you out. There was no knife inside Mr. Faraday's evidence bag. The only evidence he had yet to present was the key the Yatagarasu had sent. And unless a key can magically turn into a knife, you really don't have a leg to stand on. Ah, but it could. But... Did you really think you could trap me? Come now, be honest. I never intended to do such a thing. It was all a misunderstanding on my part. In any case, I wonder if you might append what you just said to your testimony. Sure, why not? I'll even say it as many times as you'd like.
Objection!
Ah, but it can. Miss Yu, I wonder if you might take a look at this photo for me. This is a picture of the key the Yatagarasu sent to the police. However, while it may look like a key at first glance, it in fact has the secret ability to transform into a knife. Which means that what was inside Mr. Faraday's bag was both the Yatagarasu's key and the murderous knife. You knew the key was inside Mr. Faraday's bag, did you not? Yes. Well, with the Yatagarasu's key alone, it's more than possible to kill Mr. Faraday. Yeah. Do you understand now? Just knowing of the existence of the Yatagarasu... But she hasn't yet shown that she knew it could turn into a knife, did she? I still haven't had a good look at it. Showing it to me from that far away, you could be lying for all I know. You would, even now, feign ignorance. I'm not feigning anything. But we can't have you accusing me of a crime with false evidence now, can we? I mean, Mr. Von Karma, I've heard some very interesting rumors about him. Are you mocking my papa? Don't you dare sully the good name of my mentor. Now take a good look. This piece of evidence is more than real. Wow. Who knew there was such a trick to this thing? Are you satisfied now? But of course, you knew from the very beginning, didn't you? You knew that the knife and the Yatagarasu's key are one and the same. Otherwise, someone like you, who isn't a member of law enforcement, who would never have been privy to this trick, would have never known about it to begin with. Is she the Yatagarasu? Furthermore, the something that the Yatagarasu sent to the police. How did you have knowledge as to what it was? Actually, I heard it from Mr. Faraday. Just before he dragged Mr. Rell off, he told me. That's right, I almost forgot. He also told me about the key turning into a knife at that time. But he didn't tell me about how the key actually transforms.
Objection!
What you're saying is simply not possible. Oh, and why not? Because Mr. Faraday himself didn't know about the hidden knife within the key. For within these pages, he mentions nothing about a knife.
Objection!
I'm not sure he would have written everything in his organizer, you know. Wouldn't something of this importance be better left to oral communication?
Objection!
Unfortunately, that is also impossible. Because Detective Bad didn't know about the knife aspect either. What would have been highly classified information, even within the police force, and is something that even the lead detective on the case didn't know. Why would Mr. Faraday have felt the need to share such information with the opposition? Yeah, I guess he wouldn't have much of a reason to. Looks like I gave a pretty lame excuse, huh? How can you laugh at a time like this? She probably just realized the flaw in her logic is actually in a panic over it. But that's not something we need to concern ourselves with. I suppose you're right. Miss you. I'd like to state that I also know how you know the real nature of the knife. Do you now? Well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is and show me? Oh, I will. And I'll wipe that smile off your face by the time we're through. And this is it. The moment of truth. The secret behind the Yatagarasu's key. Only one person would have had knowledge of it from the get-go. Who would know from the start that the Yatagarasu's key could change into a knife.
Take that!
Bingo. There's only one person who would have known about the dual nature of the key. And that is? And that is the person who sent the Yatagarasu's key to the police. That is to say, the Yatagarasu herself. Are you saying that this lawyer is the great thief, Yatagarasu? Ms. Yu, you used Mr. Rell to lure Mr. Faraday into a trap, didn't you? You, who profess to bear a grudge against criminals. Why? Why do something like this? Oh boy. Who'd have thought that you, a stupid rookie prosecutor, would see through me? You're sending the biggest chill down my spine right now, Edgeworth. This feeling of thrill. It's even greater than when I sneak in someplace. You? You killed Faraday? Why? Answer me, Callisto Yu. I think we know why. Callisto Yu. Huh. That's not my real name. Because my real identity is, yes, the great thief, Yatagarasu. Huh? Let me tell you something, Edgeworth. Mr. Faraday was one difficult man to deal with. For you see, he had discovered my true identity. Which is why I had to erase him from the world of law. I made Rell an offer, an acquittal, for a little favor in return. All he had to do was accuse Mr. Faraday of being the Yatagarasu in court. But once we entered the recess, Rel was dragged off by Mr. Faraday, which threw my plan into a complete mess. I chased after them and eavesdropped them through a crack in the door. That Rel caves to only two things, money and authority, just as all thugs do. I feared my plan was going to be ruined if Mr. Faraday held on to Rel any longer. Plus, if I let him continue the way they were, I would have been found out. That's why I had no choice. I had to kill them both. But didn't you say that you despised criminals? But do I really? Have you forgotten about the KG-8 incident too? Maybe. What sort of woman would... So then, was it your plan to kill Mr. Faraday with the very evidence that you sent? Well, I had a good idea of what Mr. Faraday was going to do. I anticipated that Mr. Faraday was going to prove that Rel wasn't the Yatagarasu. By using this Yatagarasu's key as evidence, and that he would bring it with him. Which is why I thought to use the knife portion. With a weapon as well disguised as this, no one would be the wiser. Because who in their right mind would think something like this could be a weapon? I casually entered lobby number 2 on the pretext that I had to talk to Mr. Faraday. And in order to get in with him, I pretended to be worried about something. He then let me hold the Yatagarasu's key, just like that. He never noticed I changed the key into a knife inside that plastic bag. And he didn't have the chance to take note of the knife that took his life. How could you kill him? I knew him for a long time, you know. At the very least, I thought to give him a quick and painless death. But if you killed Mr. Faraday first, there was no need for you to kill Mr. Rel as well. Unless it was A, to leave no witnesses, and B, to set up the scenario that they killed each other. I believe I mentioned why when we were placing Detective Gumshoe under arrest. Something about having accidentally created an eyewitness. And how that led the killer to think about setting them up as though they'd killed each other. Then the trick with the surveillance tape. Yes, I hadn't actually planned to use a gun. The risk was too high that I'd be caught. However, that's when I remembered the existence of that surveillance tape. Which is why I had Rels help me set up the crime scene. After all was said and done, I rewarded him for all his hard work with a bullet. You're a defense attorney, aren't you? How could you betray a client? Client? If you want to talk about who was a client of whose first, it was me. I was the client in the murder of the Kodobian Embassy staff member, Jade Man. You ordered a hit job? You still haven't figured it out, Mr. Bad. I had Jade Man killed because he was about to give away info about the smuggling ring. Now, who exactly do you think would benefit from such an assassination? It can't be. You're? That's right. I'm a member of the smuggling ring. Ah. What? How could this... You don't mean... You're working with Manny Cochin too, do you? Maybe, maybe not. Guess you'll never know. The Yatagarasu claims to be noble, but you're just another cold-blooded murderer. That's right, little girl. The Yatagarasu is just another killer. Be quiet, you. Yatagarasu. You can run from the law, but you'll never escape it. So just humbly accept the judgment of this court. Hey, Edgeworth. Do you know? The Yatagarasu has 3 legs. Do you know why that is? No? Well, let me tell you. It means the Yatagarasu has more than one razor-sharp way to do her work. Huh? What? You really are too naive, Edgeworth. You even handed the Yatagarasu's key right to me without a second thought. Everything may not have gone according to plan, but I'll still gladly take it. Yeah. You mean, the key was your real target? And even after I gave you such great advice, didn't I tell you to always keep a good eye on a criminal? Or you may regret what comes of your negligence. You two, get down! Yeah. Ah! Yep, my body. I can't move. Hey, mister, to your right! Oh. You! Oh, shit. Thank you, Kay. Are you alright, Francisca? I'm perfectly fine, Miles. Her voice is shaking, but looks like she's unharmed. Where'd Kay go? Oh, that's a gunshot. September 10th, 7 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 3. Sorry, but it looks like she got away. I called the precinct. They should have a perimeter set up soon. Detective Batter, you're right. I heard a gunshot. I'm okay. Just got another hole in my jacket. He may say he's fine, but he looks quite shaken. But more importantly, Mr. Edgeworth, Ms. Von Karma. Oh, there we go. Finally showing a little respect. Are you two hurt? I'm absolutely fine. I'm also alright, thanks to Kay. Speaking of Kay, where is she? I don't know. She just sort of disappeared. I'll go look for her. Oh, and hey, Detective Gumshoe? Yes, sir! Detective Bad, sir! I'm sorry I doubted you. Don't worry, sir. It's not your fault. Well, I lied to you guys too, after all. I heard about what happened from Kay. Lying while giving testimony is still unforgivable. But in this case, you are protecting Kay and her feelings. Looks like you just might have what it takes to be a real detective. Now, don't you ever lose that detective spirit, okay? You got it, Pops! Pops? Watched one too many detective dramas recently, have we? Way to single-handedly destroy the cheery atmosphere with one snarky comment. I should get back to the investigation. I swear, I'll catch you if it's the last thing I do. Be careful, Detective Bad, and take care. Thanks. Well, I'm off. Maybe we'll run into each other again someday. Thanks a bunch, pal. You're the best. You really did find out the truth behind everything. Yes, well, I'm glad we solved everything before you were taken to prison. Oh, is he still moping? I can't believe how much trouble I caused you with my testimony, Detective Gumshoe. That was no problem, really. I mean, I lied too, so I didn't help anything. It's really not your fault, Your Honor. Well, even if we didn't have His Honor's testimony, I think that lawyer would have found another way to get you convicted on her behalf. Yeah, I can't believe I was about to get fired during my first week as a detective. Well, so long as you're not fired. You should work hard, give all that you have, and perform your duties well. Oh, and one more thing. Kay left a present for you with me. She did? Oh, what is it? What was it Kay left for me? The proof of their friendship.
Take that!
It's a courthouse special Swiss roll. Can I really have it? Yes, it's a present meant for you after all. Thanks a bunch! You have no idea how happy this makes me, pal. I'm gonna eat this right now. Sure, go ahead. The Swiss rolls Detective Gumshoe and Kay bought together. While the one Kay saved never reached her father, it would appear that her sentiments had touched the heart of this detective. He's so happy, as though he's having a welcome back celebration of his own. Well, I was asked by Kay to give it to him. Whoa, that was good, pal! I can't believe I got to eat 2 of these delicious things in one day! It's like I'm in Swiss roll paradise or something. I've got to thank Kay myself. Hey, wait, where is she? He's only noticed just now. Was his mind not present when we discussed it earlier? Detective Bad left to go search for her earlier. Maybe you should go join him. Yeah, you betcha, pal. I'm gonna go help him. Oh, but first... You know what, pal? Actually, I guess I shouldn't be so rude to you anymore, huh? I'm gonna stick right by your side from now on, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. I sense nothing but a most troublesome relationship from that ominous statement. We should go home too, Miles. We have to hurry and report what has happened to Papa. Agreed. Well, I'm afraid we must be going now, Detective. Roger, sir. Don't you worry. I'll investigate the next case we're on real well. I'll, be counting on you. The scent of trouble is definitely in the air. Thus, like a bad dream, my first outing at court came to a disturbing end. A few months later, I was finally able to properly stand in court as a prosecutor. But the detective in charge of the investigation was, as I dreaded, Detective Gumshoe. After that, he became my direct subordinate. I've tried, but words fail me to describe the immeasurable suffering he's caused me. But I suppose that's just how things are. As for the little girl who suddenly disappeared, she's now... Yep. So, do you remember now? Yes, I remember everything. Kay. It's been a while. Kay, you sure grew up a lot! Of course! And thank goodness, I thought you two had totally forgotten about me. You know, I was really worried about you after all that. Where have you been all this time? Gummy, I didn't know you cared. After my father died, I went to go live with my mother's relatives. They lived really far away, so I wasn't really able to come back here all that much. Oh, is that what happened? Well, I'm just glad you're alright. So, does it all make sense now? You betcha it does. Oh, you know what? I was going through my father's bookshelves recently and...
Hold it!
Actually, there's still a number of things that don't make sense, Kay. Huh? First of all, why did you come all this way to see me? And second, why are you calling yourself the Yatagarasu? The Yatagarasu is Callisto Yu, the woman who killed your father. No, you're wrong. The real Yatagarasu was my father. Huh? Okay, now this is getting a little confusing. Mr. Faraday was the Yatagarasu? Like I said, I was going through my father's bookshelf recently, and I found a secret diary hidden among his books. I have no regrets in choosing to walk the path of the Yatagarasu. That was written in his diary, and that's how I knew for sure. But that's impossible. What's with that look? You don't believe me? It wasn't just the expression on my face. I clearly said it was impossible just now. Alright then, how do you explain this? It's a way of disarming any security system of the user's choosing. Yep, that's the little thief. Truth be told, this is the Yatagarasu's greatest secret. And this little gizmo is used by my father. Wow, Mr. Faraday wasn't just a great prosecutor. He was really a great thief, huh? Yeah, my father worked really hard to steal the truth. But he was killed. And the Yatagarasu is no more. But despite that, the Yatagarasu's been spotted again recently. Someone other than you? Here, Mr. Edgeworth. Take a look at this article. Yatagarasu sends card to embassy. The Yatagarasu sent the embassy a calling card. Yeah, meaning this person's a fake. I'm almost certain that Callisto Yu lady's behind this. Because the real Yatagarasu would never send something like a gaudy card out. That the Yatagarasu did send a white card along with anything to be publicized. That's what Detective Bad told me 7 years ago, if memory serves. Well, as soon as I heard the news, I got all wound up, and I knew I just couldn't let it go. So I searched you out, so I could obtain the truth behind the Yatagarasu. Because if anyone can help me find it, I figured it's you, Mr. Edgeworth. So you're saying that I have your father and Miss Yu's identities backwards? Yes, because the real Yatagarasu is noble to the end. And I want to revive the real, noble Yatagarasu. If I don't, my father will never be able to rest in peace. Kay. Kay, you're so honorable. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'll always be here to cheer you on, pal. Even if you're honorable, a thief is a thief. And if you are plotting to commit a crime, then I'm afraid I can't be complicit. Mr. Edgeworth. You guys aren't making it easy for me. Who am I supposed to support now? Mr. Edgeworth, what I want from you is not to steal something. What I want is the arrest of that evil woman. That evil woman? You mean Callisto Yu. I think it's too hard for me to catch her all by myself. But I thought that since you were able to expose her for who she is, then maybe... Please, Mr. Edgeworth, won't you help me? Come to think of it, I do believe I owe you. Huh? Owe me for what? When Miss Yu made her escape, it was you who saved my life. Furthermore, you helped me with the investigation today. I'm not so rude as to leave favors unrepaid. Then you mean... Yes. That case has been weighing down my soul ever since that fateful day. Perhaps the time has come to settle things once and for all. If you don't intend to sully your hands in a crime, then I believe I can help you. Mr. Edgeworth, thank you! Yay, Mr. Edgeworth, sir! Isn't that great, Kay?
Yeah, it sure is, Gummy.
Even though I'd completely forgotten about her until just now. What's with their chummy relationship? The great thief, Yatagarasu. After all that time, the true identity of the thief sank back into the darkness. Baron Faraday, Callisto U, and Kay Faraday. The phantasmagorically changing identity of the great thief Yatagarasu. And the Yatagarasu's real goal. It would all come to light the day after I made that promise to Kay. Haha. Alright. Okay, Turnabout Ablaze. I think this is going to be the last chapter then. So, then I will call it a night for now. I might actually suspend this for a little while. I'm sure this one's going to be pretty big, and it's almost September, and that's when I usually start doing my Halloween stuff. And so, like I said, I might suspend this for a little while and work on those. I don't know if I'm going to suspend Mega Monday or Final Friday, at least not completely. But I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow night or what if I do, but either way, have a good night everyone. I'll see y'all later.